VSiN Weekend Morning Line on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Round number 4 of the NFL draft is about to begin. Where will Shedeur Sanders land? You know, I've always joked, and I think many of us have thought this way, like, what if we could look into the future? What would it be like? If you had told me before Thursday night show on VSiN, when me, Matt Brown, and Matt Youmans sat here on this desk and said, you'll be opening up Saturday's show asking the question, where will Shedeur Sanders go? I'd be like, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, I could have absolutely seen him not going in the first round. I thought he'd go to Pittsburgh at 21, but the more you read and you listened, it seemed like the Giants were not in on him. It seemed like the Saints had been out on him. The Browns were not going to take him in the first round. Okay, it makes sense. Team didn't have to trade. Look, I bet under 2.5 quarterbacks. I thought it would be Shedeur 21 and Dart not in, but I was not surprised to see Dart go and Shedeur not go. And the market indicated that as on draft day, on Thursday, the market shifted. It went from Shedeur being the favorite to be the second quarterback selected to Jackson Dart being the favorite. And that's what ultimately played out. But here we are. Day number 3 of the NFL draft, and he's still around. And it's wild. And I mentioned this to start the show, and I'll reiterate it. I love working here because I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy. I'm kind of the nuts and bolts. Hey, this is going to happen. I've got my opinions. I don't know why he's fallen. I can only indicate what I've read, which seemed like the draft process, the interview process, maybe not taken all that seriously, concerns potentially about him being a backup. But just from a pure talent standpoint, as someone who watches college football like I do, the guy that I thought he made a lot of sense from a comp standpoint was Kirk Cousins. Doesn't have a big arm, not super mobile, very smart, tough as hell, and precise. And guess what? Kirk Cousins was a 4th round pick. So maybe my comp of him to Kirk Cousins will come to fruition in the round that he is selected in. But we will be waiting, and hopefully we will find out here on this program within this hour where he ultimately goes. So before the draft starts back up, as the coverage has begun, let's hear from ESPN's Field Yates on why this has ultimately unfolded the way that it has, with Shedeur Sanders still on the board, 102 picks into the NFL draft.
It only leads me to believe the teams maybe are less comfortable with some of the stuff that comes into the intangibles department for Shedeur Sanders. And frankly, I'm not sure that's justified. Scott, I understand that Deion Sanders, and there's a lot of attention being paid to him being the son of one of the most notable athletes that we have seen in the history of professional sports. But frankly, I'm stunned. I don't have a good explanation for why Shedeur Sanders has not heard his name called. I had him as the 16th rated player on my board. I haven't been doing this nearly as long as Mel Kiper, but I can't imagine there have been too many instances where the 16th rated player on a big board is still available on day 3 or going into day 3. I am truly perplexed by why this situation has gotten to the point that we are now in.
So we will see. That was Field Yates courtesy of ESPN. But as the 4th round, third day of the NFL draft is about to begin, there's a marching band right now on the stage there in Green Bay. I want to take a look back at what we've seen and take a look at some of the Rookie of the Year odds and maybe some intriguing spots. And I'll say this too, and I saw that, Sean Spalsbury and a number of folks, I think SVP even mentioned this on his program on Thursday night. It's pretty crazy to me that the number 1 overall pick, which wasn't a left tackle, wasn't a defensive tackle, wasn't I was going to say punter just for having fun. He's a quarterback. And we have not talked about Cam Ward at all during this process. Why? Because the Jacksonville Jaguars traded up to 2, the Shedeur Sanders situation, and we knew it was going to happen. And from a betting standpoint, we being a betting network, the past 2 weeks, it's kind of been, all right, Cam Ward's going 1. What's next? But Cam Ward's now a Tennessee Titan. And that is a pretty cool situation. We're going to play you a video later, but speaking of cool, I'll just play you a video a little bit later on in the show regarding Cam Ward. But is Cam Ward worth a play at Offensive Rookie of the Year? And on April 26th, I think the answer has to be no. And I think Ashton Jeanty on April 26th, the answer has to be no. Because as I look at it right now, we'll find out the schedule. I don't think the schedule has all that to do, to be honest, with Offensive Rookie of the Year. Production over, supersedes record for Offensive Rookie of the Year, even though obviously Jaden Daniels led his team to a 12-5 record just a year ago. But looking at the Offensive Rookie of the Year market, let's run through it because it's pretty intriguing. Last year, it was loaded up with Caleb Williams going 1, knew he was going to be the starter. Jaden Daniels going 2, knew he was going to be the starter. Bo Nix going 12. Didn't know, but eventually found out in camp he's going to be the starter. Drake May wasn't the starter right away. But we had this sex appeal. This year, one quarterback goes in the first round. That, of course, is Cam Ward. But you get a guy in Ashton Jeanty who goes to the Raiders at 6, and now you're thinking, whoa, all right. Now, we'll say this. I've been burned on an Offensive Rookie of the Year ticket with a then Oakland Raider before. Josh Jacobs was going to win the damn award a couple years ago. He got hurt, and Kyler Murray stole it from Josh Jacobs. Never forget that situation there. But 2-1, looking at Ashton Jeanty, plus 230, Cam Ward. Neither, in my opinion, right now are worth the play. What about Travis Hunter? Plus 750. We've seen wide receivers win this award before. It has been done. What we haven't seen is a tight end, just pointing that out. So, worth noting there. But we've seen wide receivers win this award. Jamar Chase won this award just a couple of years ago. So, it has been done from an Offensive Rookie of the Year standpoint. Garrett Wilson won it in 2022. Look, more often than not, it's a quarterback. Running backs have won it, obviously. Saquon Barkley won it in 2018. I think when you think back to 2018, second overall pick was Saquon. Ashton Jeanty, 6th overall pick. I think there's some comparisons, some similarities. But as we look at this board right now, for me, it's kind of, all right, where can we find a long shot? We're gonna have our money locked up for a while. Where can we look from a long shot standpoint in the Offensive Rookie of the Year market? Come August, after camp, after everything unfolds. Look, remember Malik Neighbors last year? The buzz that was out there on him in camp? He became at one point the second favorite to win the award. He, at some shops, I believe it's Circa, had actually jumped Jaden Daniels as the second favorite. So, who are those types of players? So let's run through the board for you real quickly. Jeanty 2-1, Ward plus 230. We've discussed that. Pass. Hunter plus 750. Intriguing. Because he's got a stud, or maybe not a stud, but a guy in Brian Thomas that is expected to take a jump right in year number 2. So how much focus is on Hunter at plus 750? Just a quick aside. No thanks on Defensive Rookie of the Year from everything we've gathered as of now for Hunter. So Hunter at plus 750, okay. Put it to the side. We've seen it before. Tyler Shuck at 12-1. I think we wait here because if it is announced he's the starter, I guess that's a possibility at 12-1. However, we'll put that to the side. What about Ted McMillan at 14-1? Ted McMillan, a aggressive receiver. By the way, quick update. The third round is underway. Shedeur Sanders, not a surprise, not the 103rd pick. The wide receiver out of Florida, Chimere Dike, is the selection there for the Tennessee Titans. So another weapon for Cam Ward. Teteroa McMillan, I think, is pretty intriguing. So as we look at the Panthers depth chart, last year, as you saw Bryce Young take a step in the right direction late in the season. You think about the go-to receivers for Bryce Young. You're like, who does he got? Now you've got Tet, who teams were clearly very interested in. Jacksonville reportedly very interested in him before making a move up to get Travis Hunter. Tet at 14-1, interested. Because if he becomes the go-to receiver for Bryce Young, I think that is a very fascinating spot there. So Tet McMillan on the list. Omarion Hampton in Los Angeles. No. Why? They signed Najee Harris. He's not going to be the bell cow. Let's go further down the list. To me, the shot right now, and let's see if we can get a better odds on it, Caleb Johnson. Pittsburgh running back, 3rd round, 83rd overall. Thought maybe that was a spot for Shedeur Sanders. Dane Brugler of The Athletic rated him as his 3rd best running back. I love him. And as Mike Sanford said to us in hour number 1, doesn't he just scream Pittsburgh Steeler running back? Doesn't even have to change his color scheme going from Iowa to Pittsburgh. 30-1, Caleb Johnson, Offensive Rookie of the Year. That would certainly be the one that would interest me from a long shot standpoint. Hey, just a reminder, we've got a special going on over at VSiN.com. $59, you get everything we have to offer all the way through August 1st. I'll ask these same questions to Matt Youmans. What picks does he like? When does Shedeur Sanders go off the board? It is VSiN.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
The 4th round of the NFL draft is underway. 2 picks in, and no Cam Skattebo, no Shedeur Sanders. We'll keep our eyes out, and we'll see if that pick ultimately comes to fruition while we are on the air. Just a reminder, folks, Derek Stevens has got another great offer for you. This one, top to beat. All in at Circa, the ultimate getaway, $400. You get a 2-night stay at Circa, $100 dining credit, $100 beverage credit, your very own day bed at Stadium Swim, and it's all for $400 with resort fees and taxes included. This is a limited time offer, valid for stays between May 26th and September 4th. Don't miss out on this all-in summer package, Circa Las Vegas.com. Look, I've spent some nights here. It's awesome. And I know our next guest has spent a couple of nights here at lovely Circa. And it is Matt Youmans, who joins me right now, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Matt, I know you're sweating out Cam Skattebo and when he could ultimately be selected. The Giants are now on the clock. We'll see what that is. But I'm curious where, as we had the Friday unfold, what were a couple of the picks that jumped out to you? I had just regarded Caleb Johnson going to Pittsburgh. I thought that was pretty fascinating.
Yeah, Cam Skattebo just got picked by the Giants. So
there we go.
The long wait is over. Nice job by the New York Giants. They draft 2 of my favorite players, Jackson Dart and Cam Skattebo. So we got a prop winner right there. Timing, Tim. Timing is everything. That's a great way to start this. I was more than sweating it out, I was annoyed because I'm seeing a lot of players go off the draft board, and Cam Skattebo is a guy who's going to make an impact in the NFL. There's a lot of guys drafted before him who are not. And I saw Kyle Brandt on NFL Network yesterday say, quote, "My favorite player in the draft is Cam Skattebo," and he lasts until the 3rd day. One other thing I'll mention to you is that this whole thing with Mel Kiper, I saw Big Cat from Barstool tweet yesterday. I don't know how Kiper can ever bounce back from this. This has got to be the end for him. Mel Kiper's head seemed like it was going to explode the first night or last night, and maybe it will today. But, Tim, if you got a player ranked number 5 overall on your big board, and he doesn't go until the 3rd day, and you've been doing all this work on the draft and supposedly talking to NFL personnel people, and along the way you never pick up a clue that he's not going to be drafted in the first day or the 2nd day, or that all these teams don't like him or they have all these concerns, then you were clueless. How did you not pick up some sort of clue along the way? that the teams did not like Sanders, and you should not have him ranked number 5 on your big board. All right, so as far as the picks on Friday, JVT and I were doing the show, and the one player who kept slipping, I said, the Raiders got to grab this guy, and John agreed, was Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan. And the Raiders traded back from, I think, 36 to 48, and guess who took him at number 47? The Arizona Cardinals took Will Johnson, who was at one point really believed to be a top 10 pick. 6'2" corner, big a ball hawk, a player at Michigan. I thought, well, if the Raiders get him at 48, then that's a good move by the Raiders to trade back. And I think that's the player they targeted, and they got burned, and they had to trade back again. I thought that was probably the best pick that I saw on the second day was Will Johnson, the corner to the Cardinals at number 47. And apparently some of the concerns with his knee aren't that major, and it's something he can overcome, and he could be ready by training camp. Let's see.
Yeah, Matt, I'll just jump in here real quick because I had talked about the Arizona Cardinals. I didn't put in any particular order, but I love what they did the first three rounds.
I do too.
You get Walter Nolan, high upside type of guy with the 16th overall pick. You mentioned Will Johnson at 47, absolutely worth it. And then I like Jordan Birch, the edge rusher they got out of Oregon. So I like a lot what Arizona did in the first 3 rounds for sure.
Arizona's on my list of winners. I don't do grades. Don't really talk much about losers in the NFL draft because you should get better. But there are bigger winners than others in the draft. I think the Cardinals, one of those teams. I'm going to put the Giants on that list too because, Jackson Dart's my favorite quarterback in the draft, and that Cam Scatabo pick here to lead the 4th round is a good one. I like the Seahawks taking Jalen Milroe at number 92. And they got him right before the Browns, and that cost me a prop bet winner because I had the Browns taking Milroe at plus 230. I think the Browns were about to take Milroe, and the Seahawks seized the opportunity right one pick before that. Now, Milroe has a long way to go as a passer. You and I both know that. But he's also got an extremely high upside. If you work with him, he's a developmental quarterback to work with, and he's a freak athlete. That's why he's got more of an upside. That's why several scouts said he's the best running quarterback prospect we've ever seen in the NFL. So that's the type of guy you're picking at 92. It's well worth the pick, even if he never develops into a starting quarterback. At least you got some time to work with him now, and he's got an opportunity. The pick that I had me scratch my head the most, and of course it comes from the Cleveland Browns, is Dylan Gabriel at number 94. So he went right after Jalen Milroe. Dylan Gabriel's 5'10" or 5'11". He's got a below-average arm. He is not going to win in the NFL. What are you doing taking this guy in the 3rd round? The Browns had actually had a pretty solid draft up to that point. I know you like the Harold Fannin pick at number 67. I did too. Talking about a tight end who could start for you. You get him at 67. Harold Fannon's right up there with the best tight ends in this draft. Carson Schlesinger, Quinshon Judkins. I liked what the Browns were doing. I did not understand the Dylan Gabriel pick at all. Just stunned, actually, by that one. JVT and I were both stunned.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I mean, I was walking my dog last night, and they said quarterback. I'm like, okay, here it is. Here's Shedeur Sanders. We know that he had talked to Cleveland, and whatever has happened in these interviews, et cetera, a guy like Shedeur, who is a precise passer, made sense, especially that late in the round, but they went Dylan Gabriel. So, yeah, that was certainly surprising to me. One of the teams that I enjoyed what they did, and you and I watch as much college football as anyone out there. I love the fact that Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, the 2 Iowa State wide receivers, are going to be playing together at Houston, and you get 2 more weapons for C.J. Stroud. Tank Dell coming off the injury. Man, you look at Christian Kirk, Noel, Higgins, Nico Collins, John Mechie still on that roster. It's a pretty fascinating roster they're putting together there for C.J. Stroud with the weapons that he has.
Yeah, it's actually on my notes here, too. I was going to say who's got the deeper wide receiver group right now? Is it the Texans or the Packers? Because the Texans have really loaded up on receivers, and the Packers have, too. So those are 2 things I like coming out of this draft is what Houston and Green Bay have done, adding wide receiver targets for young quarterbacks. Let's see, one other thing I was going to mention to you. Here's a couple picks I kind of liked, Tim. By the way, Jack Kaiser just went off the board. Your Notre Dame guy.
Hey, all right.
linebacker from Notre Dame to Jacksonville. I looked through about 250 players who were still available in the draft last night, and there's some really good players out there. And speaking of Notre Dame, I would take Riley Leonard before I would take Dylan Gabriel. And Riley Leonard's going to last to the 6th or 7th round?
Yeah, and I'll say this real quickly about Riley Leonard, almost in the same ilk as Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, to your point, I didn't jump in on it, which is, look, he needs to develop more as a passer, but he is, as you pointed out, a dynamic runner, and they should have packages for him this year. And I think Riley Leonard, I mean, I'll say this. If there was a prop out there and it's a complete dart throw, but couldn't you see someone like Denver picking Riley Leonard and making them their new Taysom Hill? I'm not saying he's Taysom Hill, but they could find a package for someone like Riley Leonard. So yeah, I'd be intrigued to see, what team ultimately goes with him, later on in the day for sure.
I mean, that's the guy who's an ideal backup that you can work and develop. And, I think that's why a lot of teams don't want Shedeur Sanders as a backup. He's not coachable. All the drama, all the baggage and all the drama, you're not going to get that with a guy like Riley Leonard. Raiders are on the clock here.
We'll see.
Pick 108 of the 4th round. Could it be Shedeur Sanders? You wonder, because if anybody could, I think, coach him up, Tom Brady in that organization could. But the Raiders had 2 picks late in the 3rd round last night. And they passed.
I thought it would be 99, Matt. I really did. I thought it would be 99. I was trying to play up the 199 Tom Brady, 99 Shedeur, and they said, no, we're going to take another tackle. So we'll see. We only got about 60 seconds here, so give me a couple other guys that jumped out to you. All
right, I'll give you a couple others I like. Darius Alexander also went to the Giants. Talking about an edge rusher from Toledo at number 65.
Yep, for sure.
How about the Ravens? Going with edge rusher Mike Green at number 59? Again, the Raiders take a guy with questionable character concerns. But again, you're getting a big-time player at number 59, a guy who was widely mocked in the top 25 and perfect for the Baltimore defense. And I also like what the Steelers did with Caleb Johnson, the running back from Iowa, at number 83. This draft is absolutely loaded with quality running backs, Tim.
It will not be Shedeur Sanders with the 108th pick. It'll be Dante Thornton. So there you go. Shedeur's wait continues. He is not going to the Raiders with pick 108. Matt, always appreciate it. You would have been my first pick, that's for sure.
That's a lie. But anyway, thanks, Tim.
There he is, Matt Youmans, my co-host on VSiN Primetime. We go behind the counter with Chuck Esposito. Next, it is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling. The draft is continuing, and at pick 108, the Las Vegas Raiders selected Dante Thornton, Oregon wide receiver. So Shedeur Sanders still on the board, a handful of picks in. Worth noting, there was a prop out there in town, Cam Scatabo, over under 120.5, cash the under. The Giants selected him with pick 105. The New York Jets on the clock. Could they be a team that looks at Shedeur? We're going to do this all day, aren't we? Oh, could they pick him? Could they pick? Who the hell knows at this point? New Orleans at 112. Pretty confident that will not be the selection. But, all right, we did this all throughout the college football season, a little bit during March Madness. Our guy, Chuck Esposito, loves the draft, so let's get to the latest from Behind the Counter.
Where are the lines changing? And where's the money going? Let's go Behind the Counter.
Race and Sportsbook Director at the station's casino property, Red Rock. The Red Rock Casino, lovely place to go. I went there for Mother's Day last year. It was phenomenal. Had a great day with the wifey and the kids. So Chuck Esposito joins us right now. And Chuck, you guys put up some props. Me and Matt Youmans gave you your kudos, rightfully so. How did you guys fare this year with those props over at Stations Casino for the NFL Draft?
Yay, Sportsbook. First time I can report in quite some time, Tim, that we actually posted a positive number.
Oh, congratulations.
A lot of it was that there was more indexes up than just individual player props. But overall, it wasn't a huge win, but it was still a winning day. And the guests loved it. I mean, we saw a lot of action over the counter and on the app. People really were grabbing the sheets, kind of talking about it. It was featured in all of our books, as well as, hockey playoff games and NBA playoff games. But I know there's a huge storyline going on as well. But the overall draft was good for our side of the counter this year. First time in a long time.
Well, I appreciate you guys putting up the offerings that you did. I was able to hit a couple, actually, so thank you. The Niners to select a defensive lineman / edge. I'll give you a quick story. I was on the air on Thursday night with Youmans, and we thought maybe it would be Walter Nolan, and he goes, oh, they took the kid from Georgia. I'm like, no, Jalen Walker's a linebacker. And I'm like, oh, wait, Mykel Williams? Yeah, he's an edge rusher. All right.
He's an edge, right?
All right, we're able to cash that ticket. That was certainly a bit of a surprise there in round number 1. I got to ask you a question, and I know you did not have the prop listed of team to select Shedeur Sanders, and maybe I know it's house rules, but generally speaking, if you have a prop up of where a player is to get drafted and they don't get drafted, once again, I think Shedeur Sanders will get drafted, but if he did not get drafted, would those bets at most shops, Chuck, from your understanding, get refunded?
Yeah, I think we probably would have had the disclaimer on there. If we listed the teams, there probably would have been either every team on there and then a disclaimer on the bottom that said player not drafted. So you would have that option to bet as well. We may have had 5 or 6 teams listed, the field, and then the option of not to get drafted, just because there could be an injury or something that occurred from the time we actually posted that until the draft. But if not, it would be a refund unless you had some sort of disclaimer on your sheet or boards at that time.
Chuck Esposito joining us, courtesy of our courtesy of our progressive guest line. He is the Red Rock Casino Sports and Racebook Director. By the way, Chuck, I'm just going to go all over the place with you. You're a big horse guy. You ready for the Derby a week from today?
I am. We're going to have a $10,000 Twin Q next Friday, $20,000 Twin Q on Saturday, and anybody that makes a $25 race bet at any of our properties gets an official Kentucky Derby T-shirt. So it'll be fun. It's got a mint juleps stands around the book. Ooh. And some roses and photo ops going on here at Red Rock. So if you can't be at Churchill, come over to Red Rock and we'll have some fun for Derby Day.
There we go. Chuck Esposito joining us here, courtesy of our progressive guest line. Remind me, I don't know if you guys will put up, but if you do ultimately put up Offensive Rookie of the Year odds, do you anticipate, since you're a local shop, do you anticipate a plethora of Ashton Genty money coming into the station's casino?
Yeah, we've talked about it, Tim. I think we're actually going to try to put it up, the Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year sometime over the weekend. And, yeah, I think Genty anyway is going to be a guy that's going to be the focal point of that Raider offense. We're actually going to put Travis Hunter up in both the offensive and defensive side of it as well. Since he'll be playing some wideout and some corner, and we're not exactly sure where he'll be, but I think it'll be fun to put him up on both sides. But no question, Genty going 6 overall, the highest running back to be selected in well over a decade, and being a local guy with the Raiders, we'll definitely have that prop up. We actually have some props up right now on him. It's his over-under touchdowns and his over-under yards, and we saw the bettors already jump on both the overs. We had posted his over-under yards at 999.5, and his over-under touchdowns at 6.5. And in both cases, we've seen over money already.
Chuck Esposito joining us here. Hey, Chuck, when you hang those props, there was someone out there talking about Caleb Johnson, me. And if you could put up like a 50-1 or a 60-1 on the Steelers' new running back, it would be much appreciated to your friend Tim here, because right now DraftKings, which obviously we can't bet here in Nevada, is currently sitting at 30-1. All right, quick update. The Jets did not pick Shedeur Sanders. They took Arian Smith, the wide receiver out of Georgia. So at pick 111, Shedeur still on the board. Chuck, while we have you, let's talk about the Vegas Golden Knights. They are down 2-1, and they got the Minnesota Wild again this afternoon. You know, it's always funny to get your perspective on this, since you are a local shop, and what the action has been. And just looking at price, it certainly seems like if you want to bet the Wild, ladies and gentlemen, go see Chuck Esposito, because that's the best price out there. So are you just getting hammered with Vegas Golden Knight money so far?
We are. We have been for every game, Tim. We're all big Knight fans here from the fan side of it, but from the bookmaking side of it, and we've talked about this throughout the year. It's when they win, when they cover the puck line, and the game goes over. It's not a good outcome for us. We opened this game at 55. It has been bet all the way up. We want to be in market and put a competitive price up, but we have gotten considerably one-way play on this game. I see the industry starting to creep up as well, but we're going to be huge Wild fans today. Maybe the only benefit is that it is an afternoon game, so there's not everything dumping into the late game of the night, which it is in many cases with a home game. But game has jumped 20 cents since we posted this game after the conclusion of Game 3.
So, Chuck, just looking back to last night, I opened the show talking about obviously Shedeur, but after that, I was like, man, if you were a believer in the old desperation spot, congrats to you, because you could have put together the old desperation parlay, right? All the teams down 0-2 in the NBA and the NHL all won yesterday. And, I just used Circa's number, but it was like 35-1 or somewhere in that ballpark if you had parlayed all of the 0-2 teams. So are your bettors, are your customers betting that desperation angle? How have you been faring with that, with all the teams who are down 0-2 winning last night?
Yeah, you're right. They predominantly have been playing the favorites, and we did well the last couple of days in hockey, but not last night. And I think it was that, and it's a little bit that zigzag that you look at, and I know we've talked about that in other sports as well. But when teams were down 0-2 and their backs were against the wall, those were the teams that they played. Now, if the Kings had the lead against the Oilers, that would have been a good outcome for us, but didn't work out that way. But yesterday was actually a losing night in the NHL for us.
Chuck Esposito joining us. What about the Lakers game? We're a Lakers town, so the Lakers losing, was that a good result? How did the T-Wolves Lakers game fare for you guys?
Yeah, it was an awesome result for us, Tim. Just like the Knights, I think, and the Raiders, there's one NBA team that they back. We've got some serious liability on our future book on the Lakers. That was even before the Luka trade, but they play the Lakers every night. That's kind of the same situation, that everything live is kind of dumping in to the Lakers, especially when they're a night game. So that outcome was very positive for us yesterday, and got lucky. You had the Yankees go down, the Dodgers go down, the Padres go down yesterday. So overall, a really good baseball day as well. Yeah,
the NL West went 0-5, so it was a day I'm sure sportsbooks were pretty happy about.
I want to frame that day and see if we can repeat it for the next 3 or 4.
When you have the Giants and the Dodgers and the Padres and the D-backs all losing, that's probably a good thing. Hey, Chuck, always appreciate the insight, and we'll probably be calling on you next week with the Derby here ready to roll.
Sounds awesome, Tim. Thanks, buddy. Enjoy the rest of the draft, and I'll talk to you soon.
There he is, Chuck Esposito, the latest from behind the counter there from the from the Stations Casino Race and Sportsbook. Hey, just a reminder, we've got an awesome situation going on over at VSiN.com. We got the NBA Playoff Challenge, as all of these selections are coming in an hour before, so they're locked in. 15 sharp minds from the world of VSiN and Killer Sports. It's the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge. You don't want to miss out, and the only way to get it is to be a VSiN Pro subscriber all the way through August 1st. Our special is just $59. VSIN.com/subscribe. We're picks into the draft in the fourth round. Cam Scatabo, he's now a New York Giant. Shedeur Sanders, still waiting. It is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
Putting a bow on the show, it is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. Thanks to everyone who's joined the program all throughout the morning here. We're back tomorrow. Plethora of NBA and NHL coverage for you, as well as a full recap of the draft. And maybe at that point we'll know where Shedeur Sanders is going. Still on the board as we are at pick 114, the Carolina Panthers. I was curious at 113 if the San Francisco 49ers would potentially go with Shedeur Sanders. They did not. And Kyle Shanahan, I know I've brought this up before, but I look at Shedeur Sanders. I see similarities to Kirk Cousins with the precision passing, the toughness, the smarts when it comes to knowing the game of football. And Kyle Shanahan loved Kirk Cousins, loved him. And remember, in 2012, RG3 went 2 to Washington, and Mike Shanahan picked Kirk Cousins in the 4th round, and ultimately ended up being a pretty shrewd pick because he was the starter there for a handful of years. So we'll see. But it won't be San Francisco at 113. It was not the Raiders at 108. And I will say this. I do have a bet prior to round 2 yesterday on the Raiders to be the landing spot for Shedeur. I think that bet is pretty much toast at this point. 98, 99, 108. You had multiple opportunities. Never say never. But I think now that the Raiders have passed on him, 6 times, I still will come back to the favorite entering today, which was Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was plus 190 going into today. They were, at one point in time when I bet him with Youmans on VSiN Primetime, plus 650 to be the landing spot pre-draft. I still think they make sense, obviously, with the need. And they've only passed on him twice. Right? You look at a lot of these other teams, they pass on 5, 6 times, however many. Pittsburgh Steelers only passed on them twice. And I sound like a broken record, and shouts to my guy, Donnie Miller, who just tweeted me. You can always tweet me at @1Tim Murray. Caleb Johnson was the pick at 83, the running back out of Iowa. And at Caesars Sportsbook, he's 75-1 to win Rookie of the Year. Yes, please. I will be grabbing that at 75-1. So hopefully we can get down on that, because I think he's going to be the main guy there in Pittsburgh from a running standpoint. At 83 to get one of the better running backs in some people's eyes, that was a good pick to make. Now, when they come back, I believe at 123, will Shedeur be there? I don't know. Miami at 116. Once again, the Shanahan tree, I think Shedeur Sanders would make some sense, that style of quarterback. But does someone like Tua, who we've tried to bench for 15 years now, do they want that coming to town, I guess is the way to put it. So we'll see. 116 will be Miami. I think that could potentially be a spot there for Shedeur, knowing with the style of play, the style of offense, and the way that Mike McDaniel comes from that Shanahan tree that had Kirk Cousins there in Washington. So we'll see at 116, but Shedeur Sanders still on the board. Once again, the prop that did come home for, I know a number of people here at VSiN, Youmans was able to celebrate it on the air, was Cam Skattebo, the running back out of Arizona State, goes 105 to the New York Football Giants. I like, look, and maybe I'll join Youmans on writing something up for the website. I don't do grades. Van Pelt did this thing on primetime, or not primetime, on his show, discussing, it's the dumbest thing out there, the grades. But we can talk about players that we like and fits that we like. By the way, the Carolina Panthers took Trevor Etienne, the running back out of Georgia. I actually like what my guy Eric Eager and company are doing down there with the Carolina Panthers. I know it's like positive Tim all day today when you're looking at the teams that I've liked. But look, let's just pull up Carolina real quick. Ted McMillan at 8. And then you've got Nick Scorton in the 2nd round. Princely Umilian, whose name I butchered, edge there in the 3rd, and then Etienne. So I've enjoyed what Carolina has done so far through the draft. The Arizona Cardinals just picked Cody Simon. So now Miami, 116. Could this maybe be the spot? We'll see. I know I've joked. I'm like, I feel like Matt Brown and Mike Somich are going to do this all throughout their show. Oh, maybe this is the spot. Maybe this is the spot. We thought maybe that 21 would be the spot on Thursday. Maybe trade in all that, but he's still on the board, Shedeur Sanders, and we'll see where ultimately he does land. 123 is where Pittsburgh selects, and hopefully that is the case. But I think Miami could be a landing spot, knowing the potential situation there with Mike McDaniel. And I don't know what those odds were for Miami to maybe be the spot, but we will see here as the picks are starting to come in. And we will see if that is the possible landing spot there. If you're wondering, the 49ers took Indiana D tackle C.J. West. So somewhere out there, Wes Reynolds is, I guess, excited to see C.J. West make his move. So we'll get you the pick when it comes in if Miami is the spot. Are they trading out? They have traded out. So Miami is trading out of the pick to the Houston Texans. And I think it's safe to say it will not be the Houston Texans selecting Shedeur Sanders there. So there goes that possibility. All right. Speaking of which, I just wanted to hit on this video real quick because it's pretty cool. Yesterday, I don't know if you saw it at Cam Ward's introductory press conference down in Nashville, as he is there. Warren Moon, Cam Ward, by the way, let's take a step back. Cam Ward wears the number one, wore the number one college. And this video is pretty badass, in my opinion. There's Warren Moon, Houston Oiler legend, and he walks in with the New Jersey Award 1 jersey, and he is going to give the blessing to Cam Ward to wear the number one. And, I'm a sucker for those types of moments. Look, there's already pressure on Cam Ward. This isn't any added pressure, but I thought that was a pretty neat moment yesterday to see Warren Moon come in. And all betting aside here for just a moment, and I know the Travis Hunter trade and the Shedeur Sanders situation have obviously dominated the draft. Can we take a step back here and just talk about how cool this situation is with Cam Ward? Cam Ward was a no-star recruit. He started his college football career at FCS Incarnate Word. And then he had a prolific start to his career in the FCS ranks, so he transferred to Washington State. Washington State, not a household commodity for superstars, right? Gardner Minshew wrapped up his career there when Mike Leach was there. But he goes to Washington State, excels, and then gets an opportunity via the portal to go to Miami. Excels again. And he's the number one pick in the draft. That story needs to get a little bit more love. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if he's going to be awesome. None of us know. I think he's going to be pretty darn good. I think there's going to be ups and downs. Shocker. I know. Way to go on a limb, Tim. But that's what I would say. I think that story, the career rise for Cam Ward, a dude that was a 0-star recruit, and now he's the number one overall pick in the NFL draft. Like, it's a pretty badass story to start your career at Incarnate Word in the pandemic, no less. Then you come back out in 2021. You throw 47 touchdowns. You go to Washington for 2 years. Pretty promising numbers. You go to Miami, and now you're the number one overall pick. And the moment yesterday I thought was really neat for Cam Ward there, getting the blessing from Warren Moon to wear his number there in Tennessee. So Shedeur Sanders still waits on the board. We have had a trade, as I thought maybe the Miami Dolphins at 116 could be the possible landing spot, but not to be, as the Texans have jumped into pick 116, and we will see what ultimately the Houston Texans decide to do here. So a couple things before we get out of here. Huge day ahead. Mike Somich, Matt Brown will have you covered, getting you ready with Ready, Set, Bet for all of the NBA, all of the NHL action. The bets are in on vsin.com/picks. The one bet that I threw into the account today, I've dusted off the old hockey handicapping, and I'm going to take an adjusted series price on the Colorado Avalanche. I think they win tonight. They're getting some steam in the market. So instead of betting them at the expensive price for this evening, I ended up taking them at plus 130 to come back and win the series down 2-1 right here at Circa. They're out to a minus 181 favorite. So Colorado, you win today. You become the series favorite again, in my opinion. So that is the way that I will add to the card there. And if you can get that 70-5-1 on Caleb Johnson to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at Caesars, we'll do that as well. All right, that's going to do it for our show. Coming up next, Ready, Set, Bet. And just a reminder, Shedeur Sanders still on the board. He does not go to Houston at 116. I'm Tim Murray, back tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.